The farmer accepted the skinny mare only to keep her from being abandoned in the pasture, thinking he was simply doing a favor. But when he cleaned the dirt from her neck and saw a mark no one there could recognize, he turned pale instantly. And when the ranch hands noticed the way the mare rested her head on him, as if she recognized someone from a very distant past, a heavy silence fell over the entire corral, because everyone understood that this was no ordinary animal. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and tell us from which part of the world you're watching, because now I'm going to tell you everything. The screen door slammed behind Sam Mitchell like it did every evening. The sound was lonely in the big, quiet yard. He wiped his hands on his pants, the day's dirt making dark streaks on the denim. "Another one done," he said to no one. He walked toward the barn, his boots crunching on the gravel. The evening was still and warm. He could hear the cows in the far pasture. He went inside the barn to check the water troughs. That's when he saw her. A horse stood at the far fence line, just outside his property. She was not moving. Sam squinted, his hand going up to shield his eyes from the low sun. He knew every horse for miles around. This one was not from here. He walked slowly across the field. The horse did not run. As he got closer, his breath caught in his chest. She was so thin. He could see every one of her ribs. Her head hung low, and her coat was dull and matted with dirt. She looked up at him. Her eyes were huge and dark, and they held a sadness that made Sam's own lonely heart feel heavy. "Hey there," Sam said, his voice soft. "Where'd you come from?" The horse just looked at him. She didn't shy away when he reached out a slow hand. He let her smell his fingers. She gave a soft, tired blow of air. "You're lost, aren't you?" Sam said. "You're all by yourself." He looked up and down the empty road. No one was coming. No one was looking for her. He knew what happened to lost, skinny animals. They didn't last long. "You can't stay out here," he whispered. He gently took hold of her mane. She didn't pull back. She took one step, then another, following his quiet pull. He led her through the gate and across his yard toward the barn. Bud, one of his ranch hands, was putting away a tractor. He stopped and stared. "What you got there, Sam?" "Found her," Sam said. "Out by the south fence." Bud walked over, his eyes taking in the horse's poor shape. He let out a low whistle. "She's in a bad way, skin and bones. You know who she belongs to?" "No," Sam said. "And no one's coming for her. Look at her." Bud nodded slowly. "Gonna call the sheriff?" Sam was quiet for a moment. He looked into the horse's tired face. He thought of the empty farmhouse, the silent kitchen, the days that all felt the same. "No," Sam said finally, "not yet. She needs food. She needs a place to be safe first." He led the horse into an empty stall. It was clean and filled with fresh, sweet hay. She stepped inside and stood very still, as if she didn't believe it. Sam got a bucket of fresh water and set it down. She drank deeply, the sound loud in the quiet barn. He brought her a scoop of grain. She ate slowly, like it hurt. "You take it easy," Sam said, leaning on the stall door. "You're home now." Bud watched from the doorway. "You gonna name her Sam?" Sam hadn't thought about it. A name meant she was staying. He looked at her. She had finished eating and was just standing there, her eyes closed, resting for what seemed like the first time in a long time. "Ilara," Sam said. The name just came to him. It felt right. "Pretty name," Bud said. He paused. "You're a good man, Sam Mitchell." Sam didn't answer. He didn't feel like a good man. He just felt like a man who was tired of seeing something broken and walking past it. He latched the stall door. For the rest of the evening, Sam did his chores. He fed the other animals. He fixed a hinge on the chicken coop. But his mind was in the barn. After the sun went down, he went back inside. He turned on the soft barn light. Ilara was lying down in the deep hay, sleeping. Her sides rose and fell evenly. Sam stood there for a long time, just watching her breathe. He spoke softly into the quiet. "It's just you and me now, Ilara. We'll get through this." He turned off the light and walked back to the silent house. But for the first time in many years, the silence didn't feel so heavy. It felt like it was waiting. He had someone to take care of in the morning. The next morning, Sam was at the barn before the sun was fully up. He carried 2 buckets, one with fresh water, one with oats. Ilara was already standing, waiting. She nickered softly when she saw him. "Morning," Sam said, his voice still rough with sleep. He poured the oats into her trough. She ate with more energy today. Bud and Leo, the younger ranch hand, arrived an hour later. They found Sam brushing Alara's coat with long, careful strokes. The dirt from her coat fell in little clouds. "She's looking better already, boss," Leo said, leaning on the stall door. He was a cheerful man, always smiling. "She just needed some food," Sam said, but he knew it was more than that. The horse watched him constantly, her dark eyes following his every move. "Gonna turn her out in the small pasture today?" Bud asked. Sam shook his head. "Not yet. She's still weak. I think I'll give her a proper wash first. Get all this old dust off her." He spent the morning on his other chores, but his mind kept drifting back to the barn. After lunch, he gathered a hose, a bucket of soapy water, and a large, soft sponge. The day was warm and sunny, a perfect day for a bath. He led Alara to a flat, grassy spot near the water pump. She stood patiently as he wet her coat. He worked slowly, talking to her in a low, steady voice. "Just gonna get you clean," he said. "Nothing to worry about." He soaped the sponge and started on her neck, working the suds into her gray coat. The water running off her was brown at first, then turned clearer. He was gentle around her face, careful to avoid her eyes. She stood perfectly still, her head lowered. Sam rinsed her neck with clean water from the hose. He used his fingers to brush her thick, wet mane to the side so the skin underneath could dry. His hand stopped moving. There, on the side of her neck, hidden under the heavy hair, was a mark. It was not a scrape or a scar from a fence. It was burned right into her skin. The mark was a pattern, a circle with twisting lines inside it, like a knot that had no beginning and no end. It looked very, very old. Sam's breath left his body. The sponge fell from his hand into the grass. He knew this mark. His heart began to beat very fast, a hard drumming in his chest. He leaned closer, his fingers trembling as they hovered over the symbol. He did not touch it. He just stared. A memory crashed into his mind. He was a boy, maybe 8 or 9 years old. He was in his grandfather's old study. The room smelled like leather and pipe smoke. He was holding something heavy and cool, a silver pocket watch. It didn't work anymore. On the back of the watch was a design. His grandfather had pointed to it. "That was your great-grandfather's," his grandfather had said. "Don't know what the picture means. Just an old family thing." Sam had loved the watch. He had carried it in his pocket for days, taking it out to trace the strange, twisting lines with his finger. Then one day, it was gone. He lost it in the big field behind the house. He had cried and looked for hours, but he never found it. He had forgotten about it for 20 years. Until now, the same exact mark was burned into this lost horse's skin. The world seemed to get very quiet. The sound of the breeze, the distant cows, it all faded away. There was only the hum of the blood in his ears and the old symbol on the living animal in front of him. "Why?" he whispered to the horse. "Why do you have this?" Alara turned her head. She looked at him. Her gaze was deep and knowing. She nudged his arm with her nose, a soft, reassuring touch. Footsteps made Sam jump. He quickly pushed Alara's mane back over the mark, hiding it. Leo walked over, carrying a coil of rope. "Getting her all shiny, I see. She looks 100 times better." Sam straightened up. He hoped his face looked normal. "Yeah," he said, his voice tighter than he wanted. "She's cleaning up fine. You okay, Sam? You look like you saw a ghost." "I'm fine," Sam said quickly. "Just, the sun is hot. Finish rinsing her off for me?" He handed the hose to Leo before the young man could argue. Sam walked back toward the barn, his legs feeling unsteady. He went into the tack room and sat down on an old crate, his head in his hands. A lost watch from his family. A lost horse with the same mark. It was not a coincidence. It could not be. He heard Leo laughing outside, talking to Alara as the water splashed. Normal ranch sounds. But nothing was normal anymore. Sam had a secret now, a secret burned into skin. He did not understand it, but he knew one thing for certain. He could not tell anyone what he had found. Not yet. The secret of the mark stayed with Sam. He did not speak of it to Bud or Leo, but it changed how he was with the horse. He was quieter around her, more watchful. He found himself going to the barn just to look at her, to see if the symbol was still there, if he had imagined it. He never pushed her mane aside again. He did not want anyone else to see. Elara grew stronger every day. Her coat became smooth and shiny. She started to follow Sam around the ranch. If he was fixing the fence, she grazed nearby. If he was in the barn, she stood in the doorway, watching. One morning, Sam was checking the posts along the north pasture. Elara was with him, pulling gently at the new spring grass. Bud and Leo were across the field, digging a new post hole. The sun was warm. Sam straightened up, a sharp pain in his lower back. He let out a low groan, pressing his hand against the sore spot. Elara's head came up. She walked over to him. She did not nudge him for attention. She simply lowered her heavy head and rested it on his shoulder. She let all its weight settle there. It was not a quick touch. It was a deep, solid rest. A letting go. Sam froze. He could feel the warmth of her, the soft hair of her cheek against his neck. He could hear her breathing. He did not move. A feeling washed over him, a feeling so strong it made his eyes sting. It was not the sadness of a lost animal. It was the comfort of an old friend. It felt like coming home. Across the field, the thudding of the post-hole digger stopped. Sam looked over. Both Bud and Leo were standing still, staring at him and the horse. They were not smiling. Their faces were serious. They did not say a word. The whole ranch yard went silent. The birds seemed to stop chirping. The wind died down. The air felt thick and heavy, like before a storm. The silence was a real thing. It pressed on Sam's ears. Elara lifted her head from his shoulder. She looked at the two men across the field, then back at Sam. She blew out a soft breath. The spell broke. Leo cleared his throat. Bud bent down and picked up the diggers again. The metal clanged as they started to work, but the sound was hollow in the quiet. Leo walked over to Sam later when they were getting a drink of water from the cooler by the barn. His usual smile was gone. "That was something else, Sam," Leo said, his voice low. "What was?" "The way she put her head on you. I've never seen a horse do that, not like that." Leo took a long drink. "It was like she knew you, like she was remembering you." Sam felt a chill that had nothing to do with the water. "She's just tame," he said. "No," Bud said, joining them. He wiped his forehead with his arm. "That wasn't tame. That was something different." He looked right at Sam. "There's an old feeling around that horse, Sam. The men feel it. I feel it. It's in the air when she's near." That night, Sam lay in his bed in the dark, quiet house. He thought about the heavy feel of Elara's head on his shoulder. He thought about the deep silence that had fallen over the ranch. When he finally slept, he dreamed. In the dream, he was not Sam. He was a man with a thick beard, wearing clothes that were old and rough. He held a lantern. The light glowed yellow in a deep, soft darkness. He was standing in a stable, but it was made of stone and ancient wood, not his own barn. Elara was there. She looked younger, her coat bright. The man, Sam, but not Sam, put a hand on her neck. His fingers brushed the place where the mark was. His heart was so full of sadness it was a physical ache. "You must wait here," the man in the dream said, his voice rough with tears. "Keep the secret. I will find a way back to you. I promise." He turned and walked out of the stable into a green valley. The valley glowed with a strange, soft light that came from nowhere and everywhere. It was the most beautiful place Sam had ever seen. The man looked back once, his face full of love and sorrow, and then he was gone. Sam woke up with a jolt. He was in his own bed. The room was dark. A deep, old sorrow was sitting on his chest, making it hard to breathe. It was the sadness from the dream. It felt like his own, but it wasn't. It was from a long, long time ago. He sat up, his heart pounding. It was not just a dream. It was a memory, but it was not his memory. He knew two things now, as clearly as he knew his own name. The mark was real. The connection was real. And he had to find out what it all meant. The feeling from the dream stayed with Sam all the next day. It was like a shadow walking behind him. He moved through his chores, but his mind was somewhere else, in a stone stable, in a glowing valley. He was checking the fence line again when a familiar truck, shiny and red, pulled up on the road just beyond his property. The window rolled down. "Sam, how's the day treating you?" Jasper Crow's voice was friendly, too friendly. He leaned his arm out the window, a wide smile on his sun-reddened face. Sam walked over, stopping a few feet from the fence. "It's treating me fine, Jasper. Heard you got yourself a new horse." Jasper's pale blue eyes scanned the pasture until they found Alara, who was grazing near the barn. "That her? Doesn't look like much from here." "She's doing all right," Sam said, keeping his voice flat. "Just all right? Looks to me like you're spending a lot of time on her. Bud tells my guy at the feed store you're out there with her dawn till dusk." Jasper's smile never slipped. "Must be a special animal." Sam felt a prickling on the back of his neck. "She needed help. I'm helping her." "Of course you are. That's the Sam Mitchell way." Jasper nodded slowly, his eyes still on Alara. Funny place for a horse to just show up, though. All alone, no tags. Almost like she was meant to find you. "What's that supposed to mean?" Sam asked. "Oh, nothing, nothing." Jasper waved a hand. "Just an observation. You two seem connected. I saw you with her yesterday. From my ridge, you know. Through my binoculars. I like to watch the valley. She put her head right on you. That's a bond. A bond like that can be valuable." Sam's hands clenched at his sides. "She's not for sale." Jasper let out a loud laugh. "I didn't ask to buy her, Sam. Goodness, you're always so defensive. I'm just making conversation. A man sees a neighbor with a new interest. He gets curious." He started his truck engine. "Well, I best get going. You think about my offer on that back 40 acres now. The price is fair. You could use the money, what with all the extra hay you're buying for that mare." He drove off, dust rising from the road. Sam stood there for a long time, watching the dust settle. Jasper wasn't just talking about land anymore. He was watching. He was interested in Alara. Later that afternoon, Sam was in the barn fixing a bridle. Alara was in her stall. He heard the sound of a vehicle slowing on the road again. He didn't go out. He walked to the small, dirty window at the back of the barn and looked out. Jasper's red truck was parked on the shoulder. Jasper wasn't in it. He was standing outside, leaning against the door. He had a pair of large binoculars pressed to his eyes. He wasn't looking at the land. He was pointed straight at the barn, at Sam's house. Sam stepped back from the window, his heart thumping. This wasn't a casual look. This was watching. He finished his work quickly. When he led Alara out to the pasture for the evening, he felt exposed. He could feel the weight of Jasper's gaze from a quarter-mile away. That night, after dinner, Sam's old dog started barking at the side of the house. Sam went to the kitchen window and peered out into the darkness. He saw the faint red glow of taillights disappearing down the main road. Someone had been parked in the shadow of the big cottonwood tree on the edge of his property. Leo came by the next morning to drop off some tools. His expression was uneasy. "Sam, I probably shouldn't say nothing." "Say it," Sam said. "I was at the diner in town last night. Jasper Crow was there at the counter. He was talking to some guys I didn't know, rough-looking guys." Leo scuffed his boot in the dirt. "He wasn't talking loud, but I heard your name. And I heard him say, where there's that kind of care, there's a reason, there's a secret. And secrets on land that borders mine are my business." A cold knot tightened in Sam's stomach. "Thanks, Leo. Just be careful, boss. He's not just being a nuisance anymore. He's got an idea in his head." After Leo left, Sam went to Alara's stall. She looked at him, her ears forward. He rested his forehead against her neck, right next to where he knew the hidden mark was. "What are you?" he whispered. "And why is he watching us?" Alara stayed very still, offering only her solid, warm presence. She had no answers he could hear. But the secret, once just between the two of them, now felt like it had a third party, a dangerous one. Jasper Crow was no longer just a neighbor who wanted his land. He was a man who had seen a connection he didn't understand, and in not understanding it, he wanted to own it. The need to understand the mark became urgent. Jasper Crow's watching eyes made the secret feel dangerous. Sam could not sit still. He needed answers. The next morning, he told Bud he was going into town for supplies. He did not mention the library. He drove his old truck down the long dirt road to the small town of Green Valley. The library was a small brick building next to the post office. A bell jingled when he opened the door. The air inside was cool and smelled of old paper. A woman with gray hair looked up from a desk. Her name tag said, Mary. Sam Mitchell, she said, smiling. Haven't seen you in here since you were a boy doing a book report. Hello, Mary, Sam said. He felt out of place. His boots were dirty on the clean floor. What can I help you with? Looking for a new novel? No, Sam said. He walked closer to her desk, lowering his voice. I'm looking for history, local history, really old local history. Mary's eyebrows went up. Well, we have the county records, some old pioneer diaries. What kind of thing are you looking for? Sam hesitated. He could not show her the mark. He did not have the watch. He had only the picture in his mind. A symbol, he said finally. A circle with twisted lines inside, like a knot. I think it's from around here, a long time ago. Mary thought for a moment. That doesn't ring a bell, but our oldest stuff is in the back room. The Historical Society donated some boxes that never got properly sorted. It's a mess, but you're welcome to look. She led him to a small, windowless room. Cardboard boxes were stacked on shelves. Good luck, she said, and left him alone. Sam started with the box labeled Pioneer Families AM. It was full of old letters, land deeds, and faded photographs. He saw the names of people he knew, ancestors of his neighbors. He found a few mentions of Mitchells, but nothing about a symbol. He opened another box. Societies clubs. There were pamphlets for old farming co-ops, a group for knitting socks for soldiers, a temperance union. Then, at the very bottom of the box, he found a small leather-bound book. The cover was blank. He opened it. The pages were handwritten in ink that had faded to brown. The writing was elegant and old-fashioned. The title on the first page made his breath catch. A record of the Compass of Heaven Society, our search for the Valley of the First Sun. Anno Domini, 1859. Sam's hands trembled. He turned the pages carefully. The writer talked about a group of pioneers who came to Wyoming. They were not looking for gold or land for cattle. They were looking for something else, a secret, sacred place hidden in the mountains. We have seen the mark upon the ancient stone, one entry read. It is the sign of the guardian. It is the map to the place where the world remembers. The Valley of the First Sun, where light lives in the earth and broken things may mend. Sam's heart was pounding. He turned another page, and there it was, a hand-drawn illustration, a circle with twisting lines inside it, the exact symbol from Ilara's neck, the exact symbol from his lost watch. Underneath it said, "The crest of the society, our solemn vow." He read faster. The society believed the valley was real. They believed it could heal sickness and hold memories of the past. They searched for years, then the entries just stopped. The last page, dated 1862, had only one sentence. "The way is lost, the guardian remains. We keep the vow in silence." Sam sat back in the hard chair, the book open on his lap. The secret society, the vanished pioneers, the Valley of the First Sun. It was all true. It was not a silly myth, and his family was part of it. The pocket watch proved that. Mary tapped on the door frame. "Find anything?" Sam slowly closed the book. "Yes," he said. His voice was rough. "This group, the Compass of Heaven Society, what happened to them?" Mary came in and took the book. She looked at the cover thoughtfully. "Oh, that old story. My grandmother used to talk about it. A bunch of pioneers who went a little mystical out here on the plains. They had some wild idea about a magic valley. Then they just disappeared. Some folks say they found it and never came out. Most folks say they just gave up and moved on, too embarrassed to admit they were wrong." She handed the book back to him. "Why the interest, Sam?" Sam held the book tightly. It felt heavy with truth. I think my family might have been part of it." Mary's kind eyes grew serious. "Well, that would make sense. The Mitchells have been here since the beginning. If anyone was mixed up in that, it would be them." She patted his shoulder. "You can take that book if you want. No one else has asked for it in 50 years. Sam drove home, the old book on the seat beside him. The pieces were coming together, but the picture was bigger and stranger than he had imagined. It wasn't just about a horse. It was about a promise, a lost place, and his own blood. He looked out at his land, at the mountains in the distance. Jasper Crow thought the secret might be valuable like gold, but Sam was starting to understand it was valuable in a way Jasper could never dream of. It was a memory, and it was his to remember. The old book from the library stayed on Sam's kitchen table. He read it every night. The words Valley of the First Son and Guardian circled in his mind. He looked at Alara with new eyes. She was not just a lost horse, she was part of the story, but he still did not understand how. Then one morning several weeks later, Bud made an observation. "That mare of yours is filling out nice, Sam," Bud said, leaning on the pasture fence. "Real nice." Sam looked at Alara. Her sides were rounder. She moved more slowly. He had thought she was just healthy now, eating well. But Bud was right. The shape was different. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Bud asked, his voice gentle. Sam's mouth went dry. "She's going to have a baby." "Looks that way," Bud said. "Didn't see that coming when you found her, did you?" Sam hadn't. A new life. The idea filled him with a sudden, fierce protectiveness. He moved Alara to the safest, quietest stall. He checked on her constantly. The secret of her mark was now joined by the secret of new life growing inside her. Jasper Crow drove by more often. Sam saw the flash of his red truck on the road. He knew Jasper was watching, adding things up in his head. A special horse. Now, a pregnant horse. Jasper would see it as another reason she was valuable. The days grew longer and warmer. Alara grew bigger. She was calm, but Sam could see a new alertness in her. She was waiting. One night the moon was full and bright, pouring silver light through the barn windows. Sam had a feeling. He took a blanket and pillow and slept in the hayloft, just above Alara's stall. He woke up to a soft sound, not a cry, but a deep, grunting breath. He was instantly awake. He climbed down the ladder. Alara was lying on her side in the deep straw. Her sides were heaving. Sam's heart leapt into his throat. He turned on the soft overhead light. "Easy, girl," he whispered. "I'm here." He did not need to help. Alara knew what to do. In the quiet of the night, under the bright moon, she gave birth. It was a slow, careful process. Sam watched, his hands clenched, his breath held. Then it was over. A small, wet, wobbly form lay in the straw. Alara turned her head and began to nudge and lick her new baby. The foal was a beautiful dusky gray like its mother. It had long, spindly legs. It tried to stand, fell, and tried again. Sam sank to his knees in the straw, a feeling of pure joy swelling in his chest. He laughed, a rough, happy sound. "You did it," he said to Alara. She looked at him, her eyes soft and tired, and then back to her baby. The foal finally found its feet. It stood shakily, leaning against its mother. Alara continued to clean it, licking its coat dry. That's when Sam saw it. As Alara nudged the foal to turn, the moonlight and the barn light fell on the baby's shoulder. There, in the short, damp hair, was a mark. It was small. It was faint, like a shadow, but it was unmistakable. The same symbol, the circle with the twisting lines. Sam froze. He crawled closer through the straw, his eyes wide. The foal, a little filly, looked at him with curious dark eyes. Without thinking, Sam reached out. He gently placed his fingertips on the tiny, faint mark on the foal's shoulder. The world vanished. A flood of images, feelings, and smells crashed into his mind. They were not his own. He saw a dusty, rocky trail through mountains he did not recognize. The feeling was of long, patient travel. He saw the entrance to a hidden canyon, two tall rocks leaning together like a doorway, with a pine tree growing between them. Then he saw a face, a man's face, weathered and kind, with a thick beard and eyes that Sam knew. They were his own eyes. The man was smiling. He was holding the lead rope of a younger Alara. He put his hand on her neck, right over her mark. Love and duty flowed from the man, a promise as solid as stone. Sam knew this man. This was Silas Mitchell, his great-great-grandfather. The vision ended as quickly as it started. Sam pulled his hand back as if burned. He was gasping for air, back in the straw of his own barn. The foal stumbled away, hiding behind its mother. Sam stared at them, his heart hammering against his ribs. He understood everything now. The secret was not just about the horse, it was about his family. Alara was the guardian. Silas Mitchell was the last keeper of the secret. The bond between them, the promise to protect the valley, was a real thing. It had skipped generations. It had been waiting. The mark on the foal proved it. The promise was not finished. It was being born again, right here in his barn. He looked from the tired, proud mother to the wobbly Mark baby. He was not just Sam Mitchell, the lonely farmer, anymore. He was part of the promise, the last Mitchell, and the guardian and her new child were now his to protect. The little filly grew stronger every day. Sam named her Luna, for the full moon she was born under. She was playful, always nudging at Sam's pockets or chasing after birds in the pasture. Alara watched over her with a calm, serious love. Sam saw the mark on Luna's shoulder every day. It did not fade. It was a quiet reminder of the truth he now carried. But the world outside the barn was not calm. Jasper Crow's watching became more obvious. He no longer tried to hide. Sam would see the red truck parked for an hour at a time. Once, Sam found fresh tire tracks in the mud at the very edge of his property, near the back fence of the pasture. "He's getting bold," Bud said one afternoon. He and Sam were fixing the roof of the chicken coop. Bud nodded toward the road where Jasper's truck was a red speck. "He's not just looking anymore, he's planning." "I know," Sam said, hammering a nail harder than necessary. "What's he want with that horse, Sam?" Bud asked, his voice low. "Really want?" Sam looked toward the barn where Alara and Luna were safe inside. He could not tell Bud about the mark, the society, the valley. The secret felt too big. He thinks she's valuable. That's all Jasper ever sees. That evening, the sky turned a sickly green color. The air grew still and heavy. The weather radio crackled with a warning for severe thunderstorms. "Gonna be a bad one," Leo said, helping Sam secure the barn doors. "Get home to your family," Sam told him. "We've done all we can here." After Leo and Bud left, Sam made one last check. He led Alara and Luna into the very center stall, the strongest one. He filled their water buckets. The first roll of thunder echoed in the distance. The storm hit with a fury a few hours after dark. Sam sat in his dark kitchen, watching lightning split the sky. The wind howled. Rain hammered on the roof like fists. Then, over the noise of the storm, he heard a new sound. The sharp crack of wood splintering. It came from the barn. Sam was on his feet instantly. He grabbed his heavy flashlight and ran out the back door into the driving rain. The wind nearly knocked him over. The barn doors, which he had latched shut, were wide open, one hanging crookedly on a broken hinge. Inside, in the flickering light of his flashlight, he saw three dark shapes, Jasper Crow and two big men Sam didn't recognize. They had ropes. Jasper had a rope around Alara's neck, pulling her toward the door. Alara was planting her feet, refusing to move, her body blocking Luna in the corner of the stall. "Get the baby too," Jasper yelled over the storm. "They go together." "Get off my property," Sam roared, stepping into the barn. Jasper turned, his face a mask of rain and wild anger in the flashlight beam. "It's too late for that, Sam. This is just claiming what's been waiting. This horse is a key and I'm turning it." One of the men lunged for Luna. Alara screamed a high, sharp sound and reared, knocking Jasper sideways. Sam didn't think. He charged. He tackled the man near Luna, and they both fell into the wet, muddy straw. Fists flew. Sam felt a punch land on his jaw. He swung back with the heavy flashlight, not to hit the man, but to make him let go. Then more footsteps pounded through the rain. Bud and Leo, soaked to the skin, burst into the barn. "We saw the truck," Bud yelled. He went straight for the second man. A messy, brutal fight erupted in the dark barn. It was not like in movies. It was mud and grunts and slipping in the wet. Leo wrestled a rope away from one man. Bud pinned the other against the wall. Sam got to his feet and faced Jasper, who was still holding Alara's rope. "Let her go, Jasper." "Or what?" Jasper spat. "You'll tell the sheriff? About what? A horse you stole?" "I found her, and I'm finding her now." Jasper yanked the rope hard. Alara threw her head up and stamped her foot, her eyes wide with fear for her foal. Sam saw red. He stepped forward and grabbed the rope near Jasper's hands. "You let go." For a second they struggled, face to face in the flashing lightning. Then Sam shoved with all his strength. Jasper stumbled back, slipping in the mud, and let go of the rope. Sam quickly unwound it from Alara's neck. He turned to see Bud and Leo had the two other men at the barn door. "Get out," Sam yelled, his voice raw. "All of you, get out and don't come back." Jasper got to his feet, his clothes covered in mud. He pointed a shaking finger at Sam. "This isn't over. That horse is a treasure map, and I will read it." He turned and ran out into the storm with his men. Their truck's engine roared and the tires spun in the mud as they sped away. The barn was suddenly quiet except for the sound of the rain and the heavy breathing of the men and the frightened horses. Sam leaned against Alara's side, his legs weak. Luna pressed close to her mother. "You okay, boss?" Leo asked, wiping blood from a cut on his lip. Sam nodded, catching his breath. "Thanks for coming back." "We never left," Bud said grimly, looking out at the taillights disappearing. "We were waiting in my truck down the lane just in case. We knew he'd try something in a storm like this." He looked at Sam. "He meant it, Sam. It's not over." Sam knew Bud was right. Jasper had said the words out loud. Asterisk treasure map. He would be back. He would bring more men. Next time, they might not be able to stop him. Sam looked at Alara, then at little Luna, with the ancient mark on her shoulder. They were not safe here anymore. The thought broke his heart, but it was the truth. The next morning, the ranch was quiet and washed clean from the storm, but the broken barn door hung loose, a reminder of the violence. Sam's jaw ached where he had been punched. He sat at his kitchen table with Bud and Leo. The old journal of the Compass of Heaven Society was open between them. Sam had told them everything. The mark, the secret society, the valley of the first sun, his great-great-grandfather, the vision from touching Luna's mark. Bud slowly turned the pages of the journal with a calloused finger. "So it's real. All of it." "It's real," Sam said. "And Jasper thinks it's a treasure map. He's not going to stop. He'll come back with more men, maybe the sheriff in his pocket. He'll take them. He'll ruin it." Leo looked scared. "What do we do? We can't fight off a whole crew." Sam took a deep breath. He had been thinking about it all night, watching Alara and Luna in the stall. The answer was clear, but it hurt. "I have to leave," Sam said. Bud's head snapped up. "Leave, Sam, this is your home." "It's not safe for them here," Sam said, his voice firm. "And I have to find it, the valley. I have to know why this is my family's promise. I have to finish it." He looked out the window at the mountains. "Alara knows the way. She showed me in the vision, a dusty trail, a canyon entrance like a doorway. I have to follow that." There was a long silence. "I'll come with you," Leo said immediately. "No," Sam said. "I need you both here. I need you to look after the ranch. Keep things going. If Jasper comes sniffing around, you tell him I took the horses and left. You don't know where. That's the truth." Bud nodded slowly, his face grim. He understood. "For how long?" "As long as it takes," Sam said. "I don't know what I'm looking for, Bud. A place that's been lost for over 150 years. They spent the rest of the day preparing. Sam packed his old camping gear, a tent, a sleeping bag, a small stove. He filled sacks with oats for the horses and packs with dried food for himself. He took a water purifier, a knife, and his father's old compass. He went to the barn. Alara and Luna were in the small pasture. He opened the gate and walked in. He held out his hand. In his palm was a piece of apple. "We're going on a trip, girl," he said softly. Alara took the apple. She chewed it slowly, watching him. Then she lowered her head and rested her forehead against his chest, just for a moment. She knew. At dawn the next morning, everything was ready. Sam wore his oldest, most comfortable clothes. He loaded the packs onto Alara's back. She stood calmly. Luna pranced around her mother's legs, excited by the early morning activity. Bud and Leo stood by the porch. "You got enough food?" Bud asked for the 10th time. "For 2 weeks," Sam said. "After that?" He shrugged. "We'll hold things down," Leo said, trying to sound confident. "Don't you worry." Sam shook Bud's hand, then Leo's. "Thank you, for everything, for last night, for this." "Just come back, Sam," Bud said, his voice rough. "Whatever you find out there, you come back." Sam nodded. He turned and took Alara's lead rope. He did not put a rope on Luna. She would stay close to her mother. He opened the main gate and led them out of the yard, away from the house and the barn. He did not look back. He walked toward the rising sun, toward the dark, rugged line of the mountains. Alara walked beside him, her head high, her ears pointed forward. She was not being led, she was leading. Sam felt a shift inside him. The fear was still there, but under it was something else, a purpose. He was no longer Sam Mitchell, the lonely farmer fighting to keep a piece of land. He was Sam Mitchell, the last of his line, walking back into a story that started long before he was born. He had a horse who remembered the way, a foal carrying the promise on her skin, and a feeling in his heart that he was finally going home. The mountains rose before them, huge and silent. Sam followed Alara along an old game trail that wound up from the foothills. The dirt under their feet was pale and dry. Luna trotted ahead, then circled back to her mother, full of young energy. They walked for hours. The sun climbed high. Sam's muscles, used to farm work, ached in new ways from the steady uphill climb. He drank from his water bottle and poured some into his hat for Luna and Alara. "This the way, girl?" Sam asked, his voice loud in the quiet. Alara kept walking, her steps sure. She did not look back. By the afternoon, the trees changed. The scrub pines gave way to taller, thicker trees. The air grew cooler. Sam saw the trail from his vision in his mind, dusty, rocky, winding upward. This was it. They made camp that night in a small clearing by a creek. Sam set up his small tent. He built a tiny fire to heat water for his dinner. Alara and Luna drank from the creek and grazed on the grass. Sam sat by the fire, chewing on dried meat. "First day done," he said to Alara. She stood at the edge of the firelight, watching the dark trees. She was on guard. Sam felt a surge of gratitude. He was not alone out here. The second day, they came to a river. It was not wide, but the water moved fast over slippery rocks. The sound was loud. Sam stopped, worried. "We have to cross." He looked for a shallow place. He stepped into the cold water, gasping at the chill. The current pulled at his legs. He turned back. "I don't know, Alara. It's tricky." Alara walked past him. She stepped into the water without hesitation. She picked her way across, placing each hoof carefully on the stony bottom. Luna followed, her legs less sure. The little filly slipped once, but Alara blocked the current with her body. They reached the other side and waited. Sam took a deep breath and followed their path. The water was cold and strong, but seeing them safe gave him courage. He crossed. "You've done this before," he said to Alara, rubbing her neck. She nudged him as if to say, asterisk, of course. On the third day, it rained, a cold, steady rain that soaked through Sam's coat. They kept moving. The trail became muddy. Sam was cold and tired. Doubt whispered in his ear. "You're lost. This is a fool's trip. Jasper was right about you." He stopped under a thick pine tree for a break. He was shivering. Luna pressed close to him, seeking warmth. "What are we doing out here?" Sam whispered. Alara came to his side. She stood very still, letting him lean against her solid, warm body. She turned her head and looked up the trail, into the rain and the mist. She was not lost. She was waiting for him to be ready. They found shelter that evening in a shallow cave in the rock face. It was dry inside. Sam changed into dry clothes from his pack. He used his stove to make a hot drink. The warmth spread through his body. He sat at the mouth of the cave, watching the rain. Alara stood beside him. "I saw the trail in my mind," Sam said to her, "from your memory, and the two rocks, the ones that lean together like a doorway, with a tree growing in the middle. Have we passed it? Am I missing it?" Alara just looked out at the mountains. She knew he had to see it for himself. The rain stopped in the night. The fourth morning dawned clear and brilliant. The wet world sparkled. They started walking again. The trail climbed even higher. Around midday, they came around a bend. The trail opened up. Ahead, the mountain slope was covered in a huge field of broken rock, a landslide from long ago. The trail seemed to end. Sam's heart sank. "It's blocked." He walked to the edge of the rock pile. It went on for a long way. It would take days to go around. He felt despair rising in his throat. Alara walked past him. She did not look at the landslide. She looked to the left, at the dense wall of pine trees beside the trail. She pushed her nose into the trees and stepped off the path, disappearing into the shadows. "Alara," Sam called. He pushed through the low branches after her. It was dark and close in the trees. He could just see her gray rump moving ahead. He followed, branches scratching at his arms. After 50 yards, the trees thinned. Sam stepped out into a small, hidden clearing. And there it was. Two tall, slender rocks leaned against each other, forming a perfect triangle of an entrance. Right between them, growing from the stone itself, was a single ancient pine tree, a doorway, exactly as he had seen it in the vision. Sam's breath caught. He walked slowly to the rocks. He put his hand on the stone. It was smooth and cool. He looked back at Ilara. She stood at the edge of the clearing, watching him. Her job was done. She had brought him to the door. Sam looked through the rocky doorway. Beyond it, a narrow, dark canyon continued deeper into the heart of the mountain. This was the way. His fear was gone, burned away by a new, steady flame of hope. The answer was in there. He took a deep breath, picked up Ilara's lead rope, and walked through. The canyon was narrow and dark, the sky just a slit of blue far above. Sam walked carefully over the smooth stones of an ancient creek bed. The only sounds were their footsteps and the trickle of water somewhere under the rocks. Ilara led with confidence, her hooves clicking on the stone. Luna stayed close, her nose almost touching her mother's tail. They walked for what felt like hours, but the light at the end of the canyon grew slowly brighter. The air changed. It became warmer. It smelled of green, growing things and sweet flowers, a smell that did not belong in a high mountain canyon. Then they stepped out of the stone walls. Sam stopped. He could not move. He could only look. It was a valley, but it was unlike any place he had ever seen. The grass was a deep, vibrant green, soft underfoot. Wildflowers of every color dotted the meadow. The walls of the valley rose all around, sheer and protective, but the air here was warm and gentle. A soft golden light filled the space. It did not come from the sun alone. It seemed to glow from the very air, from the grass, from the stones. This was the valley of the first sun. Ilara walked forward a few steps and then stopped. She lowered her head and took a deep breath of the sweet air. She made a soft, sighing sound. It was the sound of relief, of coming home. Sam walked forward, his eyes wide. Near the center of the meadow, he saw shapes. They were stones, set upright in a circle. He walked toward them. As he got closer, he saw the stones were carved. On each one was the familiar symbol, the circle with the twisting lines, the crest of the society. He touched one of the stones. It was warm. A feeling of deep peace washed over him. It was a feeling of remembering. He knew this place, not from his life, but from his blood, from the memories Ilara had carried for him. He looked back at Ilara. "You guarded this," he said, his voice full of awe. "All this time. You waited for me." Ilara looked at him. She walked over to him and rested her head on his shoulder, just as she had done in the ranch yard. This time, there was no sadness, only completion. Sam understood everything then. This was not a place of treasure, not like Jasper Crow thought. There was no gold, no jewels, the light, the warmth, the peace. This was the treasure, a place that remembered, a place that healed. The pioneers had not vanished. They had found what they were looking for, and they had become part of it. They had left their mark on the stones to say, "We were here, we found it." He thought of his great-great-grandfather, Silas. He had been the last keeper. He had left to protect the secret, leaving his guardian behind. He had made a promise to return, a promise that had passed down through generations, forgotten, until now. Sam sat on the warm grass. Luna came and curled up beside him, laying her head in his lap. He could see the faint mark on her shoulder. She was the new guardian. The promise would go on. Ilara grazed nearby, her movements slow and content. Her work was over. She had brought the last Mitchell home. Sam looked around the beautiful, silent valley. He thought of his quiet house, his struggling ranch, his lonely life. That was all far away now. Here, he did not feel lonely. He felt connected. To the past, to the land, to the two creatures who had led him here. He knew what he had to do. He would not build a house here. He would not change it. He would be its keeper, like Silas was meant to be. He would protect it. He would learn its secrets. And when the time was right, he would go back to the world and tell Bud and Leo he was safe. He would check on his ranch. But this valley was his home now, his real home. The soft light began to deepen into the gold of evening. Sam lay back in the grass. Luna slept beside him. Ilara stood watch over them both. For the first time in his adult life, Sam Mitchell felt whole. The empty space inside him was filled with the warm, quiet light of the valley. He had walked into his family's forgotten story and found his own beginning.